How's it going? It's new bike day, an exciting day for me. This is the RidStar Q20 Pro. It's a dual battery, dual motor, 52 volt e-bike. We'll get into the details later when we go for our ride, but I wanted to show you what comes in the box. We got two 3-amp chargers, the second battery, a phone holder, which is pretty sweet, the pedals, turn signals, headlight, front tire with the extra motor. It comes with mirrors, which is also pretty cool. Front fender, some tools, zip ties, and a whole crap load of keys. I'm going to throw this thing together really quick. If I run into issues, I'll cut in. Otherwise, I'll see you when it's done. Okay, well, here she is, all put together. The assembly process was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any issues. It took me about 45 minutes to put this thing together. It's like everything else. You put the front wheel on, the lights, and the fender, and then you're good to go. I realize I do have the front fender on backwards. That's on purpose because I like the way it looks a lot better like that. So we'll go over all the specs, and we'll go out and test this thing pretty thoroughly. And at the end of the video, I'll give you 3 things I really like about the bike and 3 things I don't really like. So stay tuned for that. And before we get started with the review, please just take a second to go down and hit that subscribe button. I'm really trying to make it to 10,000 subscribers. That's when you start getting all the sponsored videos and stuff like that. So if you enjoy my content, please hit that subscribe button. So let's start with how to turn the bike on. So basically, you just have a key here. You turn the key, there's a little button cluster here. You just hold power and then it comes on. The display is pretty basic. You got your charge state, you've got your information here. This is how many miles you've driven. You can do trip, max speed, average miles an hour, and then you also have the plus and minus. This is for pedal assist and power mode. On some bikes, the PAS is only for the pedal assist power, but on this bike it also works for the throttle. So there's 5 different power modes for the throttle and the pedals. What's also cool about this bike is it has a little walk mode, so if you hold down this minus button, it'll walk for you. The other button on here is the light switch. So this bike comes with a headlight and turn signals in the front, a rear running light, turn signals, and a brake light in the rear. Here's what the lighting system looks like at night. So the headlight, it's okay. It does the job. It's not really throwing out a wide spread though. You can see what's directly in front of you, and that's pretty much about it. You can adjust it. You can just move it up and down if you want. Oh, that's actually a little better right there, huh? Yeah, okay, that's better. There's a lot of snakes that come out at night over here, and deers and stuff like that. But let's check out the turn signals here. Yeah, I got nice LED turn signals. Work pretty good. Front and rear turn signals. And brake lights. So I got a full set of lights. You got front and rear turn signals and a brake light. And yeah, if you put the headlight high enough, it actually looks pretty good. Maybe put it a little bit lower right there so it doesn't get in people's eyes. So not too shabby. So this bike is a dual motor and dual battery setup. So it has 2 1000 watt hub motors, and then it has 2 20 amp 52 volt motors, right? So we should see some pretty good acceleration. Since it's a 52 volt, your top speed's sort of limited by your voltage. Realistically, you're looking in between like 32, 35 miles an hour, something like that. But let's test it out really quick and see how she does. I always do everything in full power mode, so I'm just gonna leave it in full power mode. But we'll start with the front motor off and just do rear motor and see what kind of top speed we can get. And I'm doing throttle only. Yeah, that speedometer is like way over the GPS. That thing's way off. It says 37, I'm going 30 miles an hour. Let's see if there's any difference between the back and the front. So I'll turn the back off, I'll turn the front on, and we'll hit that. Interesting, the acceleration from the rear feels a little stronger than the front. Yeah, it looks like 30 miles an hour top speed with the front only. The acceleration with both actually feels pretty good. It's a lot faster than any other dual motor e-bike I've ridden. It's not faster than like dual motor scooters I've ridden. Yeah, so it's maxed out at 37 on the speedometer on the bike, but the GPS is showing 31. Let's see, 32. Yeah, 32 is the most I'm getting. It feels like it has more. It gets up to the top speed pretty easily, and then it just kind of cuts out. I wonder if I need to get into the settings and change it. This thing's very torquey for this kind of bike. It's actually really fun. A little bit more about these batteries. So the rear battery runs the rear motor, but it also runs all the rest of the electronics on the bike. So like the lights and the display, everything, right? So your rear battery is pulling slightly more power than your front battery, so this is going to run out first. Your front battery only runs the front motor, and that's it. So it's not a whole lot more energy it's pulling than the front motor if you're riding in dual motor mode, but it is pulling more. So if you end up in a situation where your battery dies on you, you can switch these batteries out and you'll probably have just a little bit more juice to maybe to get you home. So let's talk about the braking system. It has 180 millimeter rotors, and it has what looks like 4-piston brakes. I've looked all over the internet. I can't find out if these are 4-piston or 2-piston. They seem like 4-piston to me. I'm pretty sure they're 4-piston, so we're going to call them 4-piston. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. You got the same setup in the front and the rear as far as brakes. The 180 millimeter rotors and the 4-piston brakes. Let's test out these brakes really quick and we'll be right back. All right, and let's see how fast we can brake. I'm gonna get up to about 25 miles an hour, and I'm gonna hit the brakes right when I get to this fire hydrant right here. So, let's see. We're talking from 25 miles an hour to full stop. What would you say, about 20 feet, something like that? 20 or 30 feet. I mean, not too shabby. The tires did skid out a little bit because they're sort of dual sporty type tires. They don't have the best grip on cement, but the brakes actually feel really good to me. Let's see what we can get at 30 miles an hour, because that's sort of close to the top speed. So actually we'll max it out until this thing says 37, and then we'll try again. All right, so we're going max speed now. So, I mean, that's quite a bit going max speed. If you get to slam on your brakes, someone's right in front of you, better be ready to swerve. I mean, it's not terrible for these kind of brakes. They're actually, it's pretty good. They feel pretty powerful. It's just like the tires lock up a little bit, and that kind of what slows down the stopping time. If you change these out to maybe some more street-oriented tires, you probably get a lot better grip and better braking, but yeah, I'd say they're good. So let's get into the ergonomics a little bit. You can see it does have sort of higher handlebars, and it has a 33-inch seat height. So I'm 5'9". You can see I can flat foot it, just barely though. If it was a little taller, I'd be up on my tippy toes a little bit, but I can comfortably flat foot this bike. The pedal positions make it really comfortable to ride in throttle mode, but it's not very comfortable to pedal. I mean, these kind of bikes really aren't made for pedaling. They're made for the throttle, you know, in the way they're designed. They pretty much have the pedals there to pass regulation to be legal. Yeah, you could pedal this though, and the pedal assist comes on a little bit late, but it works. But yeah, all my testing is going to be done throttle only. Another good thing about this bike is it has full suspension. So as you can see, the suspension is not adjustable, the rear or the front. It has an air shock in the rear here. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a pretty hefty guy, so I appreciate stiff suspension, and this suspension is very stiff. So it works out well for me. If you look at the amount of sag on the back, this rear shock is super stiff. And in the front, for me, it's perfect. It does make it a little bit jolty coming off road, but personally, I'd rather have it too stiff than overly soft and be bottoming out. You're never going to bottom this thing out because it's so stiff. So it's got a pretty decent air shock and really good forks. For when I say really good, in the context of this level of bike, right? Not compared to like an electric dirt bike, but for what it is, it's very good. So it's also got 20-inch rims with 4-inch fat tires on them. They've got this sort of dual sporty type tread you saw from the brake video. They don't have great traction when braking, but you can fix that just by getting getting more street-oriented tires. One of the good things about having two motors is the torque, right? This might be controversial. Some people disagree with me when I say this, but these hub motors aren't nearly as torquey as mid-drive motors. They're not as good at hill climbing as mid-drive motors are. But with the dual motors, let's test and see how this thing does climbing up a fairly steep hill that's right over here. All right, so this hill is pretty damn steep. You can't really tell because of the camera, but it's, you know, I don't know, a good 30 or 40 feet high here. And I'm gonna take this trail up here and see how well it does. So I got both motors on. Let's just see how she does. Throttle only. I got full throttle. Oh, wow. No problem. Whoa, I was not expecting it to be that easy for this thing, seriously. This hill is actually really steep. Yeah, I wish there was a way you can actually see how steep it was, but that was actually really good. I'm impressed by that. So this thing is very torquey. But really quick, if you want to buy this thing, the link's in the description. You can buy it off of my store. It's the same price. I have shipping included, right? So it's $17.99. You can go to Amazon and it says $14.99, but then they charge you $300 for shipping, so it's the same price. No matter where you buy it, it ships from the same place, same warehouse, comes with the same warranty. Doesn't really matter where you buy it from, and it takes the same amount of time to ship. So if you want to support my channel, you can buy it from me, or you can buy it somewhere else. It's up to you. All the money I make off my store goes right back into my channel, buying new bikes so I can review. So if you want to support my channel, it's a good way to do it. All right, so as far as gearing, It's got a 7-speed Shimano shifter, and it's got a Shimano derailleur, 7 gears. A couple extra things it comes with is like it comes with this phone holder here, which is pretty convenient. I used it the other day and it actually works well. And it has mirrors. So I really like having mirrors. It just makes riding so much safer, you know, being able to see what's behind you, especially when you're turning lanes. One thing I forgot to mention about the brakes is it does use DOT brake fluid, so it's not going to heat up as fast and it's going to last longer. Here's how the horn sounds. Loud enough to work. The horn is actually integrated with the headlight here. The one thing I haven't mentioned yet is range. So I'm going to do the range test in another video. In my next video of this will be a range test. I like to do it separate. So let's talk about 3 things I really like about this bike and 3 things I don't really like about the bike. So we'll start with the things that I dislike. Personally, I wish that this came with more street-oriented tires, because riding on the streets you really want to have that extra grip with braking, you know? And it does have solid brakes, but having these tires paired with those brakes makes them perform not nearly as good as if it had street-oriented tires. So I don't really like these tires. Another thing I don't like is that the speedometer is way off. So this will show 37 miles an hour when I'm actually going 31 or 32 miles an hour on GPS. I looked it up and I think the bike ships with the wrong wheel size. I don't know if they do that on purpose to have the miles per hour seem higher than it actually is, but you can fix that by going into the options and changing the wheel size. Then it's going to be more accurate. And the last thing is something I kind of forgot to go over, so we'll bring it up now, is the way you turn the motors on and off. So you have these switches. Usually a switch like this would be like for a light switch or something like that, but this switch actually turns the front motor on and off, and then this button here turns the rear motor on and off. You know, I think it's a little better having it in the display where you can actually use a button here to turn the motors on and off. I mean, once you understand what's going on, it's fine. It's just, you know, it's a little wonky, a little confusing at first, but yeah, that would be the third thing. So now 3 things I like. You know, finding 3 things I didn't like was kind of tough. You know, I had to be pretty nitpicky, but because this is a pretty great bike. I like this bike a lot. So I really like that it has dual batteries. You know, having that extra 20 amp hour battery, 52 volts, it puts this thing, I don't know the total, but it's over 2,000 watt hours. So that's the first thing, is having the extra range from having 2 batteries. Obviously, the next one is going to be having 2 motors. Having that second motor makes this bike way funner. Like, it actually goes the same top speed as having a single motor in the rear or the front, but it's just that added acceleration, that added torque, that fun factor is just increased so much by having that extra motor. It makes this thing just super fun to ride. That's the second thing I really like about it. And the third thing I really like about it is the safety features. I really appreciate how it has full working brake lights, turn signals, running lights in the front and the rear, and it has a pretty decent headlight. Included in that is having these mirrors. A lot of these bikes don't come with mirrors, so I really appreciate how this bike came with them. You know, it's a really nice thing to have, and it makes riding so much safer. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Please hit that like button, comment, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.